April 1945, Germany. In a stone cellar beneath a town hall, an American radio operator lay on a coal pile with a bandage soaked through his jacket. The door above him was locked from the outside. On it, someone had nailed a warning board claiming the room held fever cases. There was no fever inside. There was only Private Alan Pierce, wounded, thirsty, and trying to tap the wall with a piece of coal. The German mayor, Heinrich Vogel, had hidden him there before surrendering the town because he did not want American troops to discover a prisoner in his building. When General George S. Patton arrived and heard the tapping under the floor, he demanded the key. Before we get into what happened next, if you want more untold stories from World War II, hit that subscribe button. The town had surrendered without much fighting. White sheets hung from balconies. A church bell rang twice and stopped. German soldiers had already slipped away through the orchards, leaving old men, clerks, and frightened civilians to meet the Americans in the square. Mayor Vogel came forward in a black coat and polished shoes. He bowed too much. He smiled too often. He told the first American officer that the town wished for order, mercy, and protection. He offered the town hall for headquarters use. He brought out wine, maps, and a list of local doctors. He did not mention the cellar. Private Alan Pierce had been captured the night before. He was 23, from Iowa, and served as a radio operator with an armored infantry platoon. During a confused fight near the orchards, a shell burst against a wall and drove stone fragments into his shoulder and ribs. 2 German soldiers found him after dark, took his pistol, and dragged him to the town hall. A doctor had looked at him once, then left. By morning, Vogel knew the Americans were coming. He also knew a wounded American prisoner in his cellar would raise hard questions. So he chose the coward's solution. He ordered the cellar locked, told a clerk to nail up the fever warning, and instructed everyone in the building to say the room was unsafe. Pierce heard the lock turn. At first, he thought someone would return. He tried to sit up and nearly fainted. Coal dust stuck to his lips. His canteen was empty. Above him, boots crossed the floor. Voices rose and fell. Once he heard English. He tried to shout. Only a dry rasp came out. So he picked up a lump of coal and began tapping the wall. In the square, American troops moved into the town hall. A captain questioned Vogel about roads, mines, and remaining German soldiers. Vogel answered politely. He insisted the cellar must stay closed because of sickness. Lieutenant Mark Henson, a young intelligence officer, asked, "What kind of sickness?" Vogel spread his hands. "Fever. Very dangerous. My people sealed it." "Who is inside?" "No one now. Only contaminated bedding." Henson did not like the answer, but he had prisoners to process and roads to clear. The board stayed on the door. Then Corporal Eddie Lane heard something. Tap, tap, tap. It came from below the stairwell, faint but steady. Lane stopped walking. He listened again. Tap. He called Henson. The lieutenant put his ear near the boards. Tap, tap, tap. Vogel hurried over. "Old pipes," he said. "This building is very old." Henson looked at him. "Pipes do not knock back." He asked for the key. Vogel said the key had been lost. That was when Patton's convoy entered the square. Patton had come to inspect the town as a possible road control point. He was already irritated by reports of hidden snipers and false surrender flags in nearby villages. When he stepped from the jeep, Henson met him outside the town hall and explained the locked cellar, the fever sign, and the tapping. Patton's expression did not change. "Show me." They went inside. The tapping had stopped. For one terrible moment, everyone listened to silence. Then it came again. Tap, very weak. Patton turned to Vogel. Key. Vogel bowed. General, I regret. It is misplaced. Patton looked at the door, then at the mayor's clean hands. Misplaced before or after you nailed up the lie? Vogel's smile disappeared. It is not a lie. The room is contaminated. Patton stepped closer. Then you will open it first. Vogel went pale. Patton repeated, Key. A clerk near the wall began shaking. His eyes moved to a cabinet behind the mayor's desk. Patton saw it. Open that cabinet. Vogel protested. Those are municipal records. Patton pointed at an MP. Open it. Inside, hanging from a hook, was an iron key. No one spoke. Patton took it and held it up. Found. The MP unlocked the cellar door. A sour smell came up the stairs. Coal dust, blood, and stale air. Patton did not let Vogel retreat. Mayor first. Vogel whispered, General, please. You were not afraid when you locked him in. They went down with flashlights. Pierce lay on his side near the coal pile. Barely conscious, one hand still curled around the black stone he had used to knock. His lips were cracked. His bandage had turned dark. When the light touched his face, he flinched. A medic pushed past Vogel and dropped beside him. He's American. Patton looked at the mayor. Vogel began talking quickly. I did not know he was wounded so badly. I was preserving public health. The town was frightened. I intended to report him. Patton's voice was low. To whom? The coal. The medic called for a stretcher and water. Pierce opened his eyes. He saw Patton's stars and tried to speak. Patton bent close. Save it, son. You knocked loud enough. The stretcher team carried Pierce up the stairs. As they passed the door, Patton stopped them long enough to show the warning board to every soldier in the hall. There was no fever in that room, he said. Only fear wearing official paint. Then he turned to Vogel. You will carry the board. Vogel stared. General? You nailed the lie. You will carry it through the square while this man is taken to the aid station. So the mayor walked behind the stretcher, holding the false fever sign in both hands. Civilians watched from doorways. American soldiers watched from trucks. The board that had hidden a wounded prisoner now exposed the man who had hidden him. At the aid station, Pierce was given water drop by drop. The surgeon removed stone fragments from his shoulder and ribs. Infection had started, but not too deep. He survived. Vogel was held for investigation. The clerk admitted the mayor had ordered the sign placed after hearing American vehicles approaching. A local doctor admitted he had asked to treat Pierce again and had been told to stay away. 2 civilians confirmed they heard knocking before the surrender, but were warned not to interfere. Patton ordered every cellar, attic, shed, and locked room in the town searched before headquarters settled there. 3 forced laborers were found in a storage loft. 2 wounded German boys were found in a stable and treated. The town learned quickly that surrender did not mean secrets could stay buried. Vogel lost his office that same day. He was handed to military authorities as a civilian official accused of concealing a wounded prisoner and obstructing medical care. When he complained that he had only tried to protect his town, an American officer pointed to the cellar door and said the town had not been locked in there. Pierce recovered slowly. Weeks later, he asked what happened to the mayor. When told, he was quiet for a long time. Then he said he remembered the sound of the lock more clearly than the shell that wounded him. That is how fear works. It does not always shout. Sometimes it smiles, bows, writes a warning, and turns a key. The story was not only about one cellar. It was about the kind of cowardice that hides cruelty behind public order. Vogel wanted to appear civilized when the Americans arrived. Patton forced him to carry the proof that he had chosen reputation over a wounded man's life. Was Patton right to make Mayor Vogel carry the false warning sign through the square? Or should he have been arrested immediately without that public humiliation? Let us know in the comments, and subscribe for more untold stories from World War II.